Hello. Today we will be understanding and looking at stoichiometry in chemistry. Stoichiometry is the conversion between moles of one substance to moles of another, or grams of one substance to grams of another. Today we will be looking at the reaction between lithium chloride and potassium, which will yield lithium and potassium chloride. So first things first, we have to know how many moles of each substance we have. So just these first two though. So for now, we're just going to say that I have 1 mole of lithium chloride and 1 mole of potassium to make it easy. So the first thing to do when converting moles of one substance to moles of another is start off with what you are converting to what you want to convert to. We're going to convert lithium chloride into potassium chloride. So we'll have 1 mole of lithium chloride right here, and we will multiply this by a factor of the moles of lithium chloride over or under the moles of whatever we're trying to convert to, which in this case would be potassium chloride. Basically, what you do is you multiply the 1 mole of lithium chloride here by whatever these two are. 1 divided by 1 would be 1. So it would be 1 mole of lithium chloride multiplied by 1, and you would get 1 mole of potassium chloride. Fairly simple. It gets a lot more complicated when you start having these ones at like 3 moles and these ones at like 5, so we will look into that later. For now, we are going to go to the grams part of it. So let's say up here we have 32 grams of lithium chloride, and we are still trying to find the calcium or the potassium chloride. So with grams, you have to convert from grams to moles of whatever substance, lithium chloride, over to the moles of calcium or potassium chloride, and then you have to convert the moles of potassium chloride that you get to grams of potassium chloride. So this part becomes very crucial in deciding or in figuring out how many grams you go to. So we are going to start off, we are going to do 32 grams of lithium chloride over here. We need to find out how many moles this makes, how many moles this lithium chloride will make based on the atomic weight of each of these. So if we look on a periodic table, you can see lithium over here with 6.941 grams of weight, and chlorine over here with 35.453 grams, and you add those together and you get 42.394 grams of lithium chloride, and that will be under the moles of whatever you're trying to find, in this case lithium chloride, because we have moles up here. So then we would go and we would use, basically we just use this internal part to figure out the mole-to-mole ratio of lithium chloride to calcium chloride, or potassium chloride, sorry about that. So we would basically just copy this part up here. This is why doing this part is very helpful when trying to convert from grams to grams. So we would have 1 mole of lithium chloride, 1 mole of potassium chloride. See, I didn't mess it up that time. And for this next part, we need to convert whatever we got from this, multiplying or dividing 32 by that, and then multiplying it by the 1 we get here. We need to figure out a way to change the moles of potassium chloride that we get from doing all this into grams of potassium chloride. It's fairly straightforward. It looks like the other side, but the moles are on the bottom instead of on the top up here. So, as you could probably guess, the grams goes up here. So we look on our handy dandy periodic table. we see that potassium has an atomic weight of 39.098 grams, and chlorine still has an atomic weight of 35.453. We add those together and we get 74.551 grams of potassium chloride. You don't have to label these every time, but it does make it much, much easier when you're trying to decipher what you've basically just done. And then basically what we do for that part is we divide the 32 grams that we started with by the weight for 1 mole of lithium chloride. So you divide 32 by 42.394, and you'd multiply that by whatever you got for this. In this case, it's 1 divided by 1 is 1, and then you would multiply that by the grams of potassium chloride per 1 mole, which would be 74.551. And once you multiply and do all that math, you multiply it all the way through, you get a total of 56.273 grams of potassium chloride. Fairly straightforward. It does get a little bit more complicated when you start to have different levels of moles in this part and this part, and you get into the ones with like giant numbers here and here. But for the most part, it's fairly straightforward. You just have to make sure that you always check these numbers and make sure that they're right, otherwise you will not get the correct answer. So I hope this has helped enough, and hopefully you will be seeing more help from me. Thank you and take care.